from the beautiful hills of Ibiakoran. My name is Uyayanek, and thanks for joining us.
And good morning to you. Of course, your early morning starters, rise and shine. And from wherever you're going to be joining us from on our socials, Facebook or YouTube, do well to be a part of the conversation. And let's make the community great. Let's make the community bigger by also subscribing. Welcome again to Rise and Shine. My name is Janice Kobum, and I'm super delighted to be here this morning. Good morning, Uyai.
Good morning. See you.
Okay, so yes, we always start our mornings with, of course, stories that are trending and stories that either make us proud or give us some sense of how do I put it now, but something that gets a lot of Nigerians talking anyways. That's where we always start our conversations from. And today we are going to be talking about a brilliant Akwa Ibom boy. I think this one goes for all the Akwa Ibomites right now because it's a proud moment for them. Let's talk about this particular boy. His name is Valo Mbrenyang, who performed excellently well in the recently concluded WAEC and JAM exams. He bagged straight A's in all 9 subjects which he sat for during WAEC exams. And of course, a copy of the young lad's JAM result also confirms that he scored an aggregate of 343 in 4 written subjects. Now, of course, he is a native of Akwa Ibom, and Nigerians are really impressed that this can actually happen. Also drawing from the fact that we've had a lot of, incidences in the country. I think that this just calls for some kind of celebration for the people of Akwa Ibom State, that a boy such as Valo Mbrenyang can actually come up tops in his exams. And a lot of Nigerians actually say that this is way beyond just intellectual knowledge. This is more like a genius in display here, and many congratulations to him anyways. And I can just imagine, the situation his parents are right now. Proud moms, proud dad, all the way for Valo Mbrenyang.
Yes, it's such a, what would I call it, a great delight to see that a son of the soil, here, who got his education here in Nigeria, here in Akwa Ibom for that matter, because he's a graduate of Top Faith International Schools. Straight A's, 9 A's and 343 in his JAMB result. Such a great result to be seen at this time. But of course, it can't go without saying that this is a child who has invested a lot in learning throughout his 6 years in the secondary school, because of course Valo reportedly has always aced his classes right from GSS 1 to his senior secondary school. So it goes without an expectation that he will come forth with this kind of result. Of course, he's totally worth celebrating, and the governor of Akwa Ibom State and every other relevant stakeholder in the education sector has swung in to congratulate Valo Mbrenyang for this great feat that he's accomplished in his education, representing Akwa Ibom State very effectively in the eyes of the nation in terms of WAEC and even JAM. Is a nationwide feat that he's accomplished, and one way or the other, this puts Akwa Ibom education on the limelight, and of course, also duly represents Top Faith International Schools, represents his parent and his family very effectively, because it will go without any saying that his parents have made the very necessary investments to see that the child had a conducive environment to grow in and be able to excel academically. Like yesterday, we're talking about Serena Williams, who wants to step back from tennis just so she can give herself some more to family life. You'd also realize at the end of today that his parents, who are engineer and doctor Mbrenyang, have been able to make necessary sacrifices to have their child come out with this quality of results in examinations, and we can't say the congratulations enough.
Yeah, definitely. And let me just, quote his mother. He says, I was still basking in the euphoria of being the mother to the best graduating student of his set. And he just scattered my brain again. This is amazing, son. Of course, the Lord bless you, or something like that. And like you said, investing in the life of your child is very, very important. And what you give into the life of your child is what the child gives out in return as well.
Yeah.
And to see that this child invested so much time, and let's not also forget that this is an era where you have a lot of distractions, especially coming from the social media and all of that. And a child of his age, he's a teenager, so there are so many things that will cause some kind of distraction, peer pressure, from his peers and all of that. I really wonder how his parents were able to put him in that place of concentration and not, get along or get over it or get overwhelmed with, some of this pressures coming from his peers or even, the socials. And it's good to see, that we still have young children of these days that can actually come out in such flying colors. And then, the one thing that bothers me a lot is after coming up with this kind of result, what next? We have a situation at hand where, ASU is having prolonged strikes. Okay, for example, if the child is not, if the parents are not well to do enough, to send your children maybe outside the country with this kind of result, trust me, if this child, has this kind of result outside the country, they'll be rushing, to get him
Schools will be
enrolled.
offering him admission. True
Admissions,
that.
you understand? So I think that it just gets to show the level of our educational system back in Nigeria. Let's think of how long ASU has carried out on the strike. So suppose this kind of child now comes out from the public school with this kind of results, and the child is not having, parents that have the wherewithal to send the child to a private university or to school abroad. What happens? The dreams of that child is being shattered. And even after having this kind of result, and then you go to a good university and come out, where are the jobs? So it's just disheartening to see the kind of condition that we are in this country.
Yeah, we can. You just made a point, and I'm just, quickly thinking because every year we have these kinds of students who graduate topmost in the schools, graduate topmost on JAM and even WAEC. But it really raises the question because I know that if you look at schools, education in the Western world, usually you're going to have top A-list universities begin to poach those students to come to school there. But which university in Nigeria would be? We are imagining UI or University of Lagos or the
Or
University of
even Ife.
Uyo, if coming to be like, okay, Valor, you really did well. We would like to poach you to come to our school and all of that. It's something that is really nice. And at this point, we know that we hope that he gets the kind of support for his education, that we hope that this kind of investment on his part and the part of his parents will pay off, maybe some kind of scholarship or at the end of the day, right, these are the kinds of students that should get state sponsorship for higher education. At the and then it's done in such a way. I think we're having a conversation one of these days where we talked about the fact that either India or China, they send some of their A-list students to school abroad. The state sends them to school, and when the state sends them to school, it's expected that they come back to their country and invest the things that they have learned because it was the state that sent them to school. But imagine the case of Valor Mbreyang in this moment, where he has, aced all his papers, and then his parents now have to send him to school, maybe abroad, for instance, or private individuals send him, collectively give him a scholarship to go to school abroad. The tendency to be able to hold him back to come back to Nigeria and invest this quality of genius back into the Nigerian system and every other thing that he will learn if he went to school abroad will be very slim because you do not have, the wherewithal to hold him back. But if it's like where the state government says this is a really good ground to invest, let's invest and hope that after his education he can come back and give back to Akwa Ibom as a society. He can come back and give to Nigeria. I think these are things that we should even consider very much.
I also think that, some students are patriotic enough, or some Nigerians are really patriotic enough. Whether, the government sponsors them to school or not, there are some people that will actually leave the shores of this country go out to other developed countries, get that, knowledge, and then come back and then see how they can begin to, they can begin to bridge the gap between the individuals or the citizens and the government. We've had situations where, students graduate from a particular school and then they point out, like the alumni in Ibadan, that gave over how many millions of dollars. That is one, situation. Then another situation is, I've seen a situation where a particular child, went through a public school and then he discovered that while in school there was no library in his school, and then they had to just try to figure out how they can get books to read. And so what did he do? He decided to start saving money even before he graduated from that school. He decided to start saving money, and then his pocket money, gets money from older people, get a few of his students, his classmates that could afford to, they started saving money to get books. And that was how they started building a library for their school. And so I just feel that, it doesn't really matter if the state government or the federal government sponsors you to have some kind of education abroad. It depends on you as an individual. Are you patriotic enough to get that education? So it's one thing for you to complain about your own country and the ineptitude of governance or the ineffectiveness of the educational sector. It's yet another thing for you to thrive, to make a change in that regard.
Well,
So
at the
I
end
think
of
that
the day, it
people
boils
should
down
even
to
see it
individuals.
from that angle more than even saying, oh, the government did not do anything for me. They did not sponsor me in anything. But you're going to develop some other person's country.
Well, it boils
What
down
did
to
that
the
country do for
individuals.
you?
They gave you the requisite, more
No way.
a
I don't
proper
accept. You
atmosphere
were
to go to
paying
school.
for it. You paid for
Yes,
the
you paid for it,
services.
but they made their system in such a way that you could gain out of it. Now, let's look at these other aspects.
Yeah, I
Janice.
disagree with you. It wasn't because of you that they made the system that way.
Yes, they
It's
made the
just
system
way
for
the
themselves,
country.
but you came and
Yes.
benefited. Now, let's look at something that happens to most Nigerians when they
Okay.
go abroad. I know people personally
Yeah.
in the line of family that have gone out to school abroad, and because they were in this kind of line as valor geniuses, the governments of those states in the developed countries that they went to school did not allow them to come back to Nigeria. I know one person that when he's coming to Nigeria, he comes with the kind of secret service you do not understand, because he's not permitted to come back to Nigeria. He's an Akwa Ibom.
Yeah, I know that those things
So
happen.
those things happen. By the time these kinds of students go abroad, they are given these offers. Like you rightly said, I actually do agree with you, but it boils down to the person. They are going to have to weigh their options, and at the end of the day, well, you can call it patriotism.
I think I agree with
but
you on that line, because
yeah, they're going to be given several options, and
now
sometimes it's
they are different
difficult.
offers. If I go to school out in the Western world or outside this country, and I pay my way and then pay my fees and everything about me, I don't think the government holds me down. But if I go there and there's some kind of sterling performances and government says, look, okay, because of this, we are going to do this, we are going to do that, but you have to render so services for amount of so years. So I think that's how it works.
So that's something that we cannot entirely rule out at that point. So of course, at the end of the day, it boils down to the individual and the faith that they have in their country. But we can't rule out the fact that they will always have better options on the table.
But I think that at this point, Valor is just an example to so many young children, out there that just think that, okay, education or school is scam, like they would normally put it. So I think that this should be like a push line for some other children. Let's endeavor to be like Valor. Maybe the situations could be different, or the circumstances around the environment could be different, but I think that we can do more to be like him and excel
it's also
educationally.
important for parents to create the conducive environment for their children to be able to thrive academically. Set up the systems within your home that makes it possible for a child to have that atmosphere to learn and want to learn. Yes, because
okay, so we move into our next story. A man suspected to be a terrorist was yesterday rescued from a mob attack by operatives of the Lagos Police Command. Identified as Sani Gaffer, the 29-year-old man was accused of being a terrorist by the mob at Ijora Badia on Lagos mainland. It was alleged that he had dressed as a woman and carried a bag containing items suspected to be improvised explosive devices, IEDs. Now, confirming the incident, police spokesman Benjamin Hundain, a superintendent of police, said the mob descended on the man around 11 a.m. He said at about 11 yesterday, a mob descended on an alleged terrorist at Ijora Badia. The police arrived on time to save him from lynching. He was found with a bag containing 3 hammers, 6 screwdrivers, 1 pair of pliers and chisel, 5 spanners, 3 rolls of black cellophane, cable wires, a 20-millimeter bending spring, a pair of black trousers, and a plastic box of clips. Of course, investigation is ongoing to ascertain his claim that he is an electrician. We have a situation here. First, you were dressed like a woman, and secondly, when you were interrogated, you said you were an electrician. So which electrician decides to dress like a woman? It calls for a lot of concern here.
It calls for a lot of concern, but we should be grateful that the police command has been able to pick up this person. First of all, we should be grateful that the people of the community were able to first of all spot him, because what if they didn't spot him? Something might have gone wrong, and we leave it to the police force to be able to investigate and let us know whether or not he's actually a terrorist or a bandit, as it were. But it's important to note that citizens are becoming very vigilant in their environment. Whatever looks off, just take them, first of all. But let's, temper justice with mercy and pipe law on how much we, take laws into our hands. What we call it now, jungle justice. Just take the person straight to the police. Let us also trust the police force to be able to bring us the kind of justice that we want in our country. But we need to really applaud the vigilance on the part of community members, and of course the police also swinging into action. Let the alleged bandit, let him prove himself otherwise. Of course, like he said, what makes an electrician? Of course, you can see that he has his pair of trousers inside his bag. Whatever made him to decide to change and wear a woman's dress, you will tell us the kind of electrification work you want to go and do as a man dressed as a woman. But of course, this is something that needs to be taken very seriously.
Yeah, definitely.
No room should be left unturned, because at the point where the citizens feel like we were able to nab this person, but then the police overturned what should have been, like a justice, then it becomes more difficult for the people to trust the police force, and the police force to be able to expect the people to nab these kind of people in their communities and refer them to the police.
Refer them to the police station. Of course, when you look at Nigeria, we've had situations where citizens do not even trust the police anymore when it comes to such issues as this, because they just feel that if the police gets these people, before you know it, somebody somewhere is saying release them on my account and all of that. So I think that's why sometimes, citizens want to take laws into their hands. But again, if you follow the law, you are not guilty until you're proven guilty by the courts. And jungle justice, it's a no-no, because most times you find out that mob begin to lynch on these people without necessarily making any findings or investigations into exactly what happened. So most times you find out that these people that are being lynched by mob, did not actually commit this particular crime. But again, sometimes they committed the crime, but is the crime proportionate to the kind of treatment or justice you're bringing to them? It's another question altogether. So I think that the issue of jungle justice is a total no-no. And of course, the Nigerian government has always, said it's a no, when it comes to jungle justice. So even you that is perpetrating jungle justice, it is criminal for you to do that, because at the end of the day, if this person loses their life or her life or his life, the police comes after you, okay? So, but I think that we're going beyond that. Now, this is somebody that has, like you said, yes, citizens are beginning to become conscious. These are conversations we've had over and over again, where we say that citizens are beginning to even do almost everything for themselves, provide, road infrastructures, provide security for themselves, just because government is doing little or nothing towards that regard. So everybody now is on a vigilance. I told you, I was giving you a story the other day about a particular school in Ibadan where my niece attends. They sent a letter to that school that bandits were coming. And so you see parents begin to scamper to try to get the children out of school. So it has become that bad that bandits will actually send letters. We also saw it happen in Abuja, where, you know, bandits sent a notice that they were going to come into Abuja, they were going to do this, they were going to do that. So I think that at this point, citizens are becoming more conscious, more vigilant. But what is the government doing? Why is the government not being as vigilant as even the citizens? And then I think that for this particular man, there has to be a lot of squeezing. If you say you're an electrician, okay, fine. Already it is suspicious.
Yes.
Surely he can be an electrician. But again, what does an electrician need explosive for? It's the big question. What does an electrician need explosive for? You can't be an electrician, but why be an electrician in a very suspicious manner? Why even go to like disguise yourself, put your trousers in your bag and wear a woman, and to the point that he even had an hijab on. So what was the essence of all of that? Anyway, the security has said that they are investigating into the matter, and they will definitely come up with whatever findings that, you know, they have found in this regard. But I think most importantly, whatever findings they have, they owe it to the people, you know, to let them know exactly what it is.
Yeah, that becomes very important. But we are grateful that we are not entirely hopeless as a people, and we will definitely find some recourse for the things that we are experiencing as a nation. More vigilance on the part of citizens. Like we always say, when you see something, say something. Report to the nearest police station by your side. There are police emergency numbers in, you know, all of the jurisdictions around us. Find out those numbers. We actually have some, and we'll start to display those police emergency numbers for Akwa Ibom State, so that people could easily call these numbers, you know, in times of emergencies. And of course, across state governments, they are receiving some of the help that they need to be able to bring effective respite to security situations. So we hope that we can build on that. Yes, it's still Rise and Shine. Would like to really encourage you to be a part of the conversation by following us on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We are streaming live across all social media platforms. We'd like you to get into the comment section and share your thoughts on the things we're conversing about this morning. We also have our phone numbers that will be running on your screen. Feel free to call us and let us know your thoughts on the things we're talking about. At this point, we're going to switch over now to the news brief desk, where we'll be getting all of the information of things happening around the world. When we return, Rise and Shine continues. Just stay with us.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by Muslim, our governors have to share police power with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my
this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding you, your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
businesses, economic activities, a new wave of the stock market, forex market, cryptocurrencies, and NFTs creates new dynamics towards emerging market millionaires and billionaires. From the dot-com era to the oil booms, the fundamental news drives the market. This is Business 360, taking you to the business around the globe. Join us from 11:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. weekdays, exclusive on Spectrum Television. Business 360, your prism to world businesses.
The Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by Muslim, our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
As of state and government, Secretary General, delegates.
This was the voting for Spectrum TV to improve 45 seats in county.
Good morning. This is your morning news brief on Spectrum, live from Uyo. I am Mary Joseph. We begin with President Muhammadu Buhari as he has congratulated the President-elect of Kenya, William Ruto, on his victory in the just concluded elections. President Buhari also commended the people of Kenya for the peaceful outcome of the elections, which he said demonstrated the democratic process, values and principles that remained the best way to select leaders and hold them accountable. On security, Chief of Staff of President Muhammadu Buhari, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, said the existing borders between Nigeria and its neighbors are artificial. Gambari stated this at the reception organized in honor of the two presidential aides who on August 3rd were conferred with the Order of Merit in Niger, Great Masters of National Awards by President of Niger Republic, Mohamed Bazoum. In education, Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, is scheduled to meet with federal government representatives today over its prolonged strike. ASU President Professor Emmanuel Sodeke, who confirmed this during a televised interview, said the meeting is to discuss one of the 7 issues the union is protesting over. Away from that, Indian High Commissioner to Nigeria, Sri Balasubramania, has pledged his country's readiness to provide the needed support to end insecurity in Nigeria. This is as he promised to further deepen the Indian-Nigeria relations and economic ties with social investment in solar energy, artificial intelligence, fintech, and scientific intelligence. Let's move now to the foreign scene, where U.S. officials are warning of an increase in violent threats to law enforcement following the search of Donald Trump's Florida estate, Mar-a-Lago. The FBI and Department of Homeland Security issued a memo to law enforcement around the country. And finally, in sports, Liverpool yesterday fought back with 10 men to prevent a first Premier League defeat in front of fans at Anfield since 2017 in a 1-1 draw as Darwin Núñez was sent home on his home debut. Luis Diaz's sensational strike has salvaged a point for the Reds after Wilfred Zaha opened the scoring for Palace in the first half. We'll have details of these stories and more in our news at 12. I am Mary Joseph. Let's head right back to Rise and Shine, where we have Janice and Uyai on standby. Have a wonderful morning.
Government, Secretary General, delegates.
This was the voting for Spectrum TV to improve 45 seats in county.
Kwaibu Church Secondary Commercial School, a community secondary school in Mia community, is one of the long-standing schools in Pateni local government area, founded in 1972. The institution has churned out successful Nigerians across the South-South region and beyond. Reports say that the institution was one of the best rated in the past, but for decades now, the glory of the school has been buried in the deplorable condition where it is today.
Things are not very fine in this school. I'm struggling left and right tooth and nail to make sure I correct one thing or the other. We are bothering how to repair the principal quarters under renovation at hand. We've been abandoned. Everything here, nothing. Mostly, especially this structure, you see that upstairs there, was built by the community via Kwaibu Church in 1973. As sovereign in this school, only 7 teachers in question. Other schools are sovereign. The core subjects are sovereign, no teachers here. My humble appeal is now that government should be able to look into all this public school, most of this Mia own.
The indigents say that the state government was aware of the plight of the school and had promised to reposition the citadel of learning.
Government personalities over time is hitting me. They visit, they take photographs. The government of Udom Emmanuel is excellency. I get it take up. The commission computer lab here. 50 computers, sets more. You have up to 800 students in this school at all. You have about 7 teachers, 2 PTA staff. So, being your government, no teachers, you from where me. Teaching and non-teaching staff, from where me, do something to reckon with.
Another is the QIC Group School, a government-owned primary school still in Mia community, which also draws attendance from pupils across the 6 villages under Mia community.
This school is fed by about 4 villages. Mia, 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 and Mia. Even most of the children have been coming from Ikorobago. I am appealing to the state government to look into the problems of this primary school, especially refurbishing the buildings and maintaining the school to a better standard, because the children are many. And teachers should be sent down to this school to take care of the children.
As the people remind government on the urgency for the rehabilitation of the schools, they also plead for more teachers to be sent to the schools to meet the learning demands with the growing population.
Elections in Nigeria is characterized by fraud.
It is not pure election because of the way they conduct it.
The elections are here again. For us in Akwa Ibom State, it is another opportunity to elect credible and potential leaders.
But I see some of them are not really credible. In fact, when you talk about the credibility in Nigerian system, it's absent.
As for the aspirants, what are your plans to better the lives of citizens and ensure that it is not just another era of political promises?
Some aspirants came up with so childish kind of manifesto, something that you know that they cannot do.
Even if after campaigning and promising heaven and earth, you find out that by the time they come in, they cannot do 50% of what they promised.
Because they are coming to see this. If they don't use this, they will not achieve what they want. So it is the normal thing they must use to convince a man that does not have a proper ideology to vote them.
So it's just a mere slogan. It's just a mere slogan to use and have their right into power.
What do you, the people, think about the elections?
The electoral process has been marred by malpractice and all of that.
That's a bad thing in Nigeria. All election night, you about money.
Definitely, no matter what the reform they are carrying out, they will still be rigging.
It's about the aspirants, the manifesto, the people's view, an in-depth analysis.
That godfatherism is what has eaten deep into our political system. It has become a cankerworm that has left our political system into a corrupt system.
If it is not godfatherism, somebody like me, I will become the counselor. So because I don't have a godfather, it will not work.
Because people feel that they will come and invest, they need to get something back home. So the major aim is not about the people, it's about their family and themselves.
Godfatherism will not help the politics to grow. It won't help democracy to grow.
Vote buying will even be more this time around because these people, most of them are stealing a lot of money and they will use this money to buy votes.
Who gets to represent you in government at all levels?
Well, for me, the new breed aspirants, I would love the new breed aspirants. But for those, there are some of them that will not, I would say, definitely, I wouldn't want them to come back definitely to power.
Join us on Akwa Ibom Decides every Saturday and Sunday by 3 p.m. each day, exclusive to Spectrum Television, as we take on the aspirants set to lead you.
Welcome back. It's still Rise and Shine and we're beaming live from the very beautiful hills of Ibiako, and we're here to have conversations about everything that is important happening around the nation and of course give us some pivotal perspective to issues surrounding the livelihood of our people as a nation. We just returned from the news brief desk where we've heard of things happening in Nigeria and all over the world. At this point, we will be moving on with the conversations, but we would like you to join the conversation by streaming live in all the social media platforms. Get into the comment section, be a part of the conversation. Call us on our phone lines and contribute to the conversations this morning. At this point, we'll be joining the rest of the world and indeed the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to congratulate Kenya's President-elect William Ruto, who's been elected as Kenya's 5th president. It's a big win for Kenya.
Well, when you say it's a big win for Kenya, I know that again there's been some revolts of some sorts that, you know, the elections did not actually go the way that, you know, the elections were supposed to go. But I also know that, you know, William Ruto is the vice president of the country, like presently, and then contested. This is more like his first time contesting for the presidency and him also winning on that as well. Anyway, the head of Kenya's election body and yesterday declared Deputy President William Ruto the winner of the country's close fought. I like that word, close fought, because it was really tightly contested.
50.49%.
Yes.
It's like sharing the vote in almost two equal halves.
Yes, definitely. Anyways, Deputy President William Ruto, the winner of the country's close-fought presidential election, despite several commissioners rejecting the result. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Chairman, Wafula Chebokati, said Ruto had won almost 7.18 million votes, which is 50.49% against 6.94 million, which is 48.85% for his rival, Raila Odinga, in the August 9 vote. I think that August 9 was more like a date that, you know, a lot of Kenyans were looking up to actually decide who wins the poll. And when you look at ex-minister Raila, you know that he's been contesting the election. This is the 5th time he's been contesting to become the president of Kenya, but that didn't happen for him. But then all of this has actually caused a lot of attacks, you know, from the supporters of Raila Odinga, saying that the elections did not actually go the right way, and they have also accused, the electoral body of some kind of conspiration and some kind of rigging as well. But again, of course, you know that when someone wins an election, the process is fair. It's quite fair there. So, but we have videos of what is actually happening in Kenya, where the supporters of Raila Odinga actually took to the streets and decided to cause some kind of problems, in protesting against this particular result. We'll just take those videos now, and of course, we'll continue this conversation. Thrown into chaos on Monday after 4 of 7 election commissioners said they could not recognize the results. Of course, this is this kind of situations you find sometimes, in elections. Definitely, you have some people. When it doesn't go the way of a particular party. Yes, when it doesn't go the way of a particular party. But I think also that, causing this kind of chaos is really not the way to go about this whole issue.
I think it doesn't make the right statement about whichever opponent that they are even representing, because if we listen to the speech that William Ruto gave, he actually stated very clearly that they are not in any form of rivalry with any opponent, and they shouldn't be afraid to think that he's going to come after them for whatever things that they have done. So you see that William Ruto represents himself as a person of peace. And then if there are any squabbles with regards to the elections, then the parties involved should actually go to the appropriate quarters to tender their, issues with the election. But something else that happened that is really beautiful in this Kenya's election is that the IEBC had actually taken the results of the elections as it was counted across all polling votes and put it on a public server. So every Kenyan had access to the results and could calculate it on their own to see how they got to the 50.48% numeric stand that gave William Ruto the win, and then saw Raila Odinga come up, just behind him. So these are things that when we even push the conversation further, one would say that some of the things that were put in place in the just concluded Kenyan election should be things that INEC could also understudy and, consider to put in place as we, draw closer to the general elections in 2023. Some things were transparently done. Of course, we cannot rule out the imposition of the will of man, but then to the extent that they could, the electioneering body was able to represent themselves in really good light, and it's good to see. Like William Ruto rightly said in his what do they call it now? His speech. He said the win was the win for Kenyans. It was not actually a William Ruto win. Kenyans actually did win because at the end of the day, the results showed that Kenyans decided who they wanted to be their leader. And he rightly said the leadership will be the leadership of the Kenyan people. So there was a lot of hope, painted. And of course, we remember that it took days way beyond the day that was slated for their
I think
announcement
that is
to be
where
made.
the argument is actually coming from, that, it took days
yes,
beyond when the expected time was. So
announce the results.
in between that delay, a lot of things could have gone wrong. A lot of manipulations could have happened.
But wasn't
as well.
it done, all of the extra days that came, wasn't it done under the vigilance of all the observing bodies for the election? It was done under those, all those observations. But of course, we do, like you rightly said, we do not rule out the fact that these kinds of factions will come after elections. But it's expected that you go to the appropriate quarters to argue your grievances, whatever the case may be. At the end of the day, you can trust the judicial system of your nation to be able to swing either way, depending on what the justice system says.
Another thing, another angle I would like us to, follow this conversation is the point that the angle that President William Ruto is actually the vice president. Okay, president-elect now is actually the vice president of Uhuru Kenyatta. Of course, yes. And of course, we have Uhuru Kenyatta still being the president. So is it that there was no form of power of incumbency playing for the favor of William Ruto? Because
even if the power played, it just played in his favor. It won't be like they used the power of incumbency to bend the hands of Kenyans. Like he said, he's worked with Uhuru Kenyatta for close to 10 years. And then there's Raila Odinga, who's always been a rival. The people, it's in the forefront of the people to be able to choose the antecedents of these people. It's before them. He served as a vice president. When you calculate, all the time that he spent in governance, can you call him to be an effective leader that you want him to continue as president? So whether it's the power of incumbency or not, at the end of the day, it worked in his favor because one could say he has proven himself in the service.
But again, the point is, Raila Odinga, being a former prime minister, has always been in this race for the 5th time. More like from 1990 when, the Kenyans got their independence. Okay, so Raila Odinga has been there trying to get this particular position as the president of Kenya. And William Ruto is just giving it a shot for the first time, and he's getting it.
But it's nobody's fault. It's the Kenyans that chose who they wanted.
No, but I think I seem to want to feel where it pinches Raila Odinga right now. Okay, knowing the fact that or why a lot of people are kind of protesting against this, because it's just like when we had the President Ibrahim Babangida. Sorry, is it Ibrahim Babangida? Muhammadu Buhari. He tried severally to get a shot at being the president of Nigeria. I think around that 5 times as well.
Yeah,
and it didn't work out for him. But at the end of the 5th time, I think he got it. And we know how it happened. That at the end, at some point, there was this kind of serious protest, burning down of things and all of that. But in as much as we are trying to express ourselves to that point, I don't think that it is something that we should begin to see people getting killed or being injured
just
in the process of you trying to exert or express your disappointment or displeasure at a particular thing.
Yeah, of course. At the end of the day, it's what the Kenyans want, and they're having what they want. There's always going to be another opportunity for Raila Odinga to contest again. If the Kenyan government pulls through with William Ruto sitting as president, there's always going to be another time of elections, and then you can always come out again, put your manifesto forward. If the people think you're fit enough for the seat by all of their calculations, then you'll be voted into power. So it's not a case of Emilokon. It's my turn. I have tried this for the longest time. I need you. Do not need to sit
some
on
kind
the
of
seat.
sense of entitlement,
I think across Africa we need to debunk that feeling, and I think it's a rising notion where people feel like they have tried this for so long, to get into the seat of the presidency. At some point, it should just be given to them.
Yeah.
I think we should, really work as Africa, as a continent, to break the mold of that thing, because that might be something that's rising again in the democratic structure of Africa as a continent. So we shouldn't, give room for those things to thrive. Let the people be able to decide what leaders they want to, lead them. Yeah.
I think at this point we just take a video, give voice to a video of William Ruto giving his speech.
Acceptance speech, yeah?
Acceptance speech, yeah.
Miss all the people of Kenya, whichever way they voted, that this will be their government. I know many are wondering, especially those who have done many things against us. I want to tell them that they have nothing to fear. There is no room. There is nothing. There is no room for vengeance. There is no room for looking back. We are looking into the future. I am acutely aware that our country is at a stage where we need all hands on deck to move it forward. We do not have the luxury to look back. We do not have the luxury to point fingers. We do not have the luxury to apportion blame. We must close ranks and work together for a functioning, democratic, prosperous Kenya.
I believe that this is one of the most prolific statements I have heard.
Okay.
I sat down and listened to the stretch of his statements, and it was one of the most prolific things I'd heard an African say as an acceptance speech. He made he provided a smooth playing ground for everybody, including the fact that he looks forward to adopting, some of the manifestos and some of the things that the Raila Odinga-led FACT believe in, and he would like to work with them as an overseeing sect in his administration. It was so plain, it was so beautiful, and it's a kind of, if he lives up to the things he said in the acceptance speech, then Kenya will be a breeding ground for a lot of development and a lot of things to be seen differently. And of course, President Muhammadu Buhari did not. He didn't stay behind.
Yeah.
He came forward to congratulate. I mean, he is the president of the leading African nation, Nigeria. Of course, he gave congratulatory messages to William Ruto on winning the just concluded Kenyan elections.
Yeah, and then one beautiful thing too I have also seen with this particular elections, they had 4 presidential candidates being men, and 3 of them have chosen women as their running mates. So this is more like it's for me, like the high points for me right now, that these men actually identify the role of women in leadership and are trying to create that enabling environment, for women also to thrive and have their voices heard. But at this point, we just take tweets of some of the things trending around the Kenyan conversations. Okay, so this one says, Aromo Egbejule says that impressive win here by William Ruto taking on Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta, arguably the 2 most popular Kenyan politicians in the last decade, one being incumbent president and winning. Wow, guess it's William the Fifth after all.
William the Fifth.
Yes.
Okay, so this is Najib Balala. Congratulations on your victory, Dr. William Ruto, President-elect. It is by God's grace and the true will of the people you were elected president. You have the ability to transform this country for the betterment of all. Yes.
And from the president of Zimbabwe, he says congratulations to William Ruto on his election as the next president of Kenya. I have no doubts he will serve his country, his people, and our continent with distinction.
I am happy because Kenya is going to move forward now. There was so much tension, but we are moving ahead, and Ruto has said that he'll work with everyone. Yes, Justina Wame. Yes, of course, that's something he made very clear in his acceptance speech.
And from Professor Maku Mutwa, any results. IEBCK Kenya Chair Chebukati announces are invalid. I think this is one of, those that are actually talking against the fact that the IEBCK, body, which is more like the electoral body, did not do what was expected of them. It says any result, the chairman, which is Chebukati, announces are invalid because he had no quorum of commissioners to hold a plenary and make such a weighty decision. The ongoing process at Bomas is now illegal. Anyways, I think this is a comment from the chairman of the electoral body now. It says, I stand here despite intimidation and harassment. I take an oath of office to serve the country, and I have done my duty in accordance to the Constitution and to the laws of the land. Chebukati, yes, chairman of the electoral body there. But I think that, again, if we really look at it, depending on how the constitution of, the Kenyan people work and what their laws and electoral body says, there should form some kind of quorum. I know that there were like, is it 7 people that were supposed to constitute the body to announce this result, and if 4 out of that 7 is not agreeing to this particular result, I don't think that there's a problem somewhere. But even if there is an issue, I think that there is also a way to go about this and not necessarily causing chaos or causing problems in in Kenya right now.
Yeah. At the end of the day, for now is what we know that William Ruto has been announced the president-elect of Kenya, and we can but join the rest of the world to congratulate him on this big win. In the later days to come, of course, we will see how the conversations tilt, whether or not the Kenyan government will be sticking to the announced result. But at this point, we can only wish the people of Kenya all the best as they begin to transition to another administration of leadership.
Yeah, definitely. I think at this point we'll just take a breather. We'll also be looking at the protest that happened recently in Sierra Leone. We're trying to link up with our guest from Sierra Leone this morning to talk to us about it. I know that there was some kind of curfew, imposed in Freetown to try to stem the tide of what the protest had actually started off. We just hope that we get that connection and we come back with our guests on that particular conversation. But we'll also try to be linking up with Humble on the streets of Rio, where he will be talking about the papers and all the major headlines making it on our national dailies this morning. Let's take a breather and we'll be right back.
Elections in Nigeria is characterized by fraud.
It is not pure election because of the way they conduct it.
The elections are here again. For us in Akwa Ibom State, it is another opportunity to elect credible and potential leaders.
But I see some of them are not really credible. In fact, when you talk about the credibility in the Nigerian system, it's absent.
As for the aspirants, what are your plans to better the lives of citizens and ensure that it is not just another era of political promises.
Some aspirants came up with so childish kind of manifesto, something that you know that they cannot do.
Even if after campaigning and promising heaven and earth, you find out that by the time they come in, they cannot do 50% of what they promised.
Because they are coming to see this. If they don't use this, they will not achieve what they want. So it is the normal thing they must use to convince a man that does not have a proper ideology to vote them.
So it's just a mere slogan. It's just a mere slogan to use and have their right into power.
What do you, the people, think about the elections?
The electoral process has been marred by malpractice and all of that.
That's a bad thing in Nigeria. All for election night, we about money.
Definitely, no matter what the reforms they are carrying out, they will still be rigging.
It's about the aspirants, the manifesto, the people's view, and in-depth analysis.
That godfatherism is what has eaten deep into our political system. It has become a cankerworm that has left our political system into a corrupt system.
If it is not godfatherism, somebody like me, I will become the counselor. So because I don't have a godfather, it will not work.
Because people feel that they will come and invest, they need to get something back home. So the major aim is not about the people, it's about their family and themselves.
Godfatherism will not help the politics to grow. It won't help democracy to grow.
Vote buying will even be more this time around because these people, most of them have stolen a lot of money and they will use this money to buy votes.
Who gets to represent you in government at all levels?
Well, for me, the new breed aspirants, I would love the new breed aspirants. But for those, there are some of them that will not, I would say, definitely, I wouldn't want them to come back definitely to power.
Join us on Akwa Ibom Decides every Saturday and Sunday by 3 p.m. each day, exclusive to Spectrum Television, as we take on the aspirants set to lead you.
A knowledge of global businesses, economic activities, a new wave of the stock market, forex market, cryptocurrencies, and NFTs creates new dynamics towards emerging market millionaires and billionaires. From the dot-com era to the oil booms, the fundamental news drives the market. This is Business 360, taking you to the business around the globe. Join us from 11:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. weekdays, exclusive on Spectrum Television. Business 360, your prism to world businesses.
The Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Many thanks for still being there. Of course, it's still Rise and Shine your early morning status, and we've had some quite interesting conversations. And right about now, we'll be going all the way to Sierra Leone. Of course, sometime last week, we had a protest in Sierra Leone where lives were lost in that process, and we heard that the protest over in Sierra Leone was being caused by high cost of living, and we saw many lives being lost there. Anyways, joining us to have a robust conversation around the protest, what has happened so far, if there is still curfew imposed in Sierra Leone over that protest, we will find out. We have Abdul Karim will join us on this conversation. He is Deputy Director Strategic Communications and Spokesperson, Office of National Security, ONS, Sierra Leone. Many thanks, Mr. Wills, for being part of the conversation this morning.
For having me. It's a pleasure.
Okay, so I know that it's raining severely in Sierra Leone, and so because of that, we are having a little bit of hitches here and there, but we'll try as much as possible to have a smooth conversation with you this morning.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so let's just get right into the conversation. But before we do that, I also have another presenter with me. Her name is Uyai.
Good morning, Mr. Wills. Glad to have you this morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so
thank you.
Okay, so let's get into the conversation now. What happened last week is actually more like a surprise to so many people. It's more like a surprise to so many people that since after the Civil War, this is coming as a surprise. What can you make out of the protest? What's your reaction to the protest that happened in your country?
Like you stated, indeed, what happened days ago on Wednesday, to be specific, for a country like Sierra Leone that has a very brutal civil war, even the efforts that have been made to change that trajectory, that picture of barbarism, to a very civilized society, to now begin to have despicable pictures of this nature, we are all taken aback. But what happened started ago when people started making incendiary calls on social media, asking young people to come about the streets of Freetown and in some parts of Sierra Leone to demonstrate. As a sector, we didn't frown at the calls for demonstrations. So what we did was to have constructive engagements on radio, television, and also via social media to appeal to intending protesters that as a country of laws, as a country practicing democracy, it is the right of citizens to express their dissatisfaction as long as this is done within the confines of the law. And so we encourage them to have the demonstrations carry a face, because demonstrations should not be faceless. It will be difficult to manage. But specifically in our context, there is a law guiding demonstrations, and that is the Public Order Act of 1965, which stipulates that for any grouping or persons or individuals who want to go into demonstrations, they must seek clearance from the Inspector General of Police. We reiterated this. We made a lot of publicity about that. But sadly, people who are Sierra Leoneans in the diaspora made conscious efforts to counter all of our appeals. In fact, they told the youth, taking advantage of their gullibility, that if they wanted to go out and demonstrate, they needn't take any form of clearance or request from the authorities. Sadly, those calls by Sierra Leoneans in the diaspora and some in country resonated with them. And so instead of listening to wise counsel from us, people on the 8th, and I mean the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th of August took to the streets of Freetown, and the protests from onset started as violent demonstrations, because one key feature of demonstrations are that they should not be marred by violence. That's in fact the reason is stipulated in our laws, that the reason for which you are asking the police to come sit with you and negotiate the routing, the timing, and the nature of the demonstrations is to ensure that it is guided, so that miscreants will not take advantage of your good intentions. But sadly, on the 10th, we started seeing roadblocks, young men setting tires ablaze, and all efforts to engage them peacefully on the part of the police proved futile. Instead, stones were being pelted at officers, shops were being broken into and looted, and all of these. So what could have otherwise been a violence-free demonstration became bloody, because in no time, people from different communities
Okay, so I think network is actually, we're still trying to get Abdul Karim Wills join us on this particular conversation, but of course giving us like an overview.
Hello, sorry please.
No problem.
Okay. I think you're back on. You're back on.
Hello, good morning. You
Yes,
getting me?
yes, it's, we can hear you, please.
Yes, okay. So I was saying, I was saying people started going onto police stations, vandalizing these police stations, and some were even set ablaze, including government offices, including buses, and all of that. And they're now killing police officers.
Okay, so let me ask. This protest was actually network, is it there?
So those kinds of things.
Okay.
So the pictures that you are seeing are actually a depiction of what happened on the 8th. And this did not just happen spontaneously. They were well planned, because the calls were for the overthrow of government, the taking over of states, and as government institutions, as institutions in charge of coordinating security, it is our responsibility to protect or provide for the safety and security of all Sierra Leoneans.
Okay, Mr. Wills, let me ask. Okay, let me ask.
Yes,
the protest was allegedly triggered by the high cost of living that Sierra Leoneans have been experiencing. What would you say is the current face of things in the economy of Sierra Leone, and how are things with regards to the economy? How are people living?
I tell you, things have always been difficult in Sierra Leone. I've lived in Sierra Leone for the longest period. And yes, I agree that things are bad, but they have been bad currently in Sierra Leone. It's not unique to Sierra Leone alone. Angry that difficulties could make people to agitate, but these agitations have to be done peacefully. But from the very beginning, the calls that made the rounds were to take over government. were to take over State House, and if it were actually genuinely to protest for high cost of living, these ones could have resonated with the rest of the country. But in Twitter, it's only some parts in the eastern part of the country, of the city, and a few other districts. I think in all, we have 16 districts in Sierra Leone. And the demonstrations were only concentrated in 4 districts. The rest of the other districts were not bothered with these kinds of things because, like I said, the calls at the very beginning were calls for the overthrow of government. People printed T-shirts. There were incendiary messages being sent on social media here and there. So in spite of all of these, we recognize that, yes, things are difficult. And therefore, we opened the dialogue. We wanted people to do whatever they wanted to do within the country. But because the motives were different, in spite of all of our appeals, people went ahead and they headed straight to State House, well, with the intention they said they were going to take back government. So that was why it ended in that way.
Okay, let me ask this question. I know that at the point that this protest happened, the president of Sierra Leone, Julius Maada Bio, was not in the country at the time. But at the time that he came back to the country, he said that the protest was more to overthrow government and not necessarily because of the high cost of living. And he also, made pointing fingers to those in diaspora. And you've also mentioned diaspora people now. So let's know, what is the role of the diaspora in this particular protest and moving forward?
Hello.
Did you get my question?
Yes, your question was, the president was not in country.
Yes.
Indeed, yes, he was out of country. He was on vacation in England.
Yes, that's right. But he came back and he said that the protest was not particularly because of the high cost of living in Sierra Leone, but because that it was pointed towards the overthrowing of his government. And you have also mentioned the fact that there was some kind of link with the diaspora. So let's know the exact role of the diaspora, and let us also know if the protest was beyond just complaining of high cost of living.
Exactly. It has been a pattern, a very consistent pattern of people in the diaspora, Sierra Leoneans in the diaspora, particularly a certain Sierra Leonean who resides in the Netherlands. He's nicknamed Adebayo. He is always fond of calling on youths to attack government officials, to commit arson on government property whenever he thinks things are not going the way he wants them to go. And his calls have, over the period, led to so many deaths, so many confrontations between the security sector, security forces, and ordinary youth. Even when police will be performing their lawful duty, he will give them a kind of a narrative that will skew the realities. That happened in Makeni in about 2020 on July, when government wanted to relocate a generator, a standby generator, from Makeni to the country's international airport. He told them that the generator was going to be transferred to the ruling party's stronghold, thereby depriving the people of Makeni from much needed electricity. So that resonated well with the youths. And so when the electricity people came to relocate the generator, or the standby generator, because it was there unused, the youths came out, set blockades, and attacked the officers. In the end, there were deaths. About 7 or 6 people died on account of this.
Is there a reason why Adebayo has that kind of attempted hold on the Sierra Leone government?
Well, whatever his reasons are, I cannot tell. But he takes pleasure in doing this, and he has done this consistently. Like I stated, in Zombo, in Makeni, in Lonsar, in Paneba Road, massacres, all of the. Maybe he has some grievances that it's difficult to understand.
Okay,
But
so
he
I
left
think,
Sierra Leone some years ago.
yeah, I think at this point, with all what you're trying to say, there's just that lacuna when it comes to the issue of employment in Sierra Leone. What's the situation like? Because the young people in Sierra Leone seems to just be a ready tool in the hands of some people to cause mayhem and trouble.
No, I tell you, unemployment is a very serious concern for all stakeholders. I'm sure, particularly the government of Sierra Leone. But employment comes with people having the requisite skill. Even though, yes, I agree that there are some people that are educated and find difficult because jobs are difficult to come by, because people have made cautious efforts by the period to present the country in a bad light, thereby discouraging